aesthetes of his time, the Victorian era.
Victorians believed the arts, such as literature, painting, theatre, etc., fulfilled important ethical roles as they provided the public with models of correct behaviour and would encourage people to carry out this behaviour in the real world. But the aesthetes disagreed.
They argued, on the other hand, that art had nothing to do with morality, and therefore should be judged purely on form, as they were merely pursuits of beauty. This particular movement focused more on being beautiful rather than having a deeper meaning, art for art's sake.
Right, the audio messed up again, so here's a rundown. The aesthetes were seen as vain and egotistical, and they were often portrayed in drawings and paintings holding a sunflower, because this was an aesthetic motif that the Victorians kind of linked with aestheticism. In the press, aestheticism was harshly criticised because they were so alarming to the Victorians due to their radical political views, their opinions on sexuality, and the importance they placed on what they called privileging of the individual's experience of beauty. The aesthetic movement could date back to the pre-Raphaelites, but the most prominent phase occurred during the late 1860s and early 1870s, and poetry was essential to aestheticism.
Aestheticism also questioned ideas about life, the relationship between life and art. And traditionally, we've always thought of art, art is imitating life. But now, how life can imitate art.
Wilde's writing, among others, was often condemned as purple prose, meaning work that is overly elaborate or ornate due to its elusive and metaphorical qualities. Shut up, you Wildean rats! He played around with the relationships between art and life, and was famous for subverting the phrase art imitates life with life imitates art. Wilde himself was a dandy, transforming his life into a work of art, which supported his phrase, life imitates art.
His influences.
One of Wilde's most important aesthete influences was Walter Pater, who was a renowned essayist. His 1873 Studies in the History of the Renaissance was regarded as the manifesto for aestheticism. It praised the Renaissance artist's individualism and understanding of hidden wants.
Another one of Wilde's influences was John Ruskin, who believed that capitalism enslaved workers and that work should be creative and productive.
Decadence.
During 1890s, decadence was also something that was talked about, and decadence and aestheticism were all two terms that overlapped a lot and was constantly used interchangeably. So decadence was the literature of a modern society grown over luxurious and sophisticated. Decadence literally meant falling away or decline, and it was this idea of a change from the romantic, naive view on nature to a view that's less naive and valued artifice and some sort of moral corruption more. The decadents praised artifice over nature and sophistication over simplicity, defined contemporary discourses of decline by embracing subjects and styles that their critics considered morbid and over-refined. The decadent movement was over several art forms, such as the Decadent Girl you can see over here, and
Decadent Girl.
And the movement was characterized by self-disgust, sickness of the world, general skepticism, delight in perversion, and employment of crude humor, and a belief that in the superiority of human creativity over logic and the natural world.
One of the most important founders of decadence was the poet Arthur Symons, whose essay, The Decadent Movement in Literature of 1893, described decadence as a new and beautiful and interesting disease. That's a lot of ands. Listing!
The Yellow Book.
The Yellow Book featured around me was considered the encapsulation of decadence. The most famous and notorious decadent publications were published here.
The publication included Aubrey Beardsley's witty and sometimes a little inappropriate illustrations, with her bold use of simplistic yet effective black and white space and line. It was a periodical and it featured essays, poems, stories and illustrations. It was published frequently from 1884 to 1897 and used yellow and green colours which signified bruising and decay, which was part of this decadent style. Okay, that was so bad. And that was aestheticism and decadence. Say thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
We hope you enjoyed it and didn't think we're too dumb. Sorry, we are on location, we promise.
Location.
On location. Location, location, location. Wilde himself was a... I've got a lip now. Wilde himself was a dandy. Lovely.
I'm coming back.
Sorry, she's coming back. Okay.
We can cut it. But it's other.
Walk in. Come on. It's so greasy. Fulfilled important
Shall we walk?
little disclaimer. Oh, nearly touched the paint. Yeah, I mean nearly touched the office paint.